So let's jump right into it. We got a lot to get to. We'll start on Friday night, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. We have the MAC championship. We have some action. Ball State at BetMGM, the official odds provider of the Action Network podcast, is a 13.5-point underdog. Over under 67.5. Looking at this game, I think that this line, first of all, is too high. Now, Caleb Huntley, the star running back for Ball State, he's out again, and which is going to hurt. But I have questions about this Buffalo team, and I'll tell you why. And this is one of the most fascinating things about this weekend is some of these teams have sample sizes of 5 games, right? And a lot of those games came against horrible competition. So if you look at Buffalo, obviously you start with Jared Patterson. I mean, it's ridiculous. He's over 1,000 yards in a shortened season, 8.3 yards per carry, scored 18 touchdowns. Buffalo leads the nation in yards per play, rush yards per play, scoring offense, blah, blah. Their offensive line is, number one in pass efficiency, number one in line yards, number one in adjusted sack rate. I mean, it's insane. But if you look at Ball State hasn't allowed a lot of explosive plays, but they've been outside the top 100 in rush success rate, which is a little scary. But this is a Buffalo offense. I'll start with the offense. And I have questions about all 3 phases. Every number looks elite, but it's an offense that last year their offensive line was elite. And they do bring back an NFL caliber tackle, but they lost 3 starters. So is their offensive line still this elite? Look, you have to adjust it for the opponent. There are 5 games, but here's who they played. 40% of their games came against Bowling Green and Akron. Their others came against Northern Illinois and Kent State. Those are 2 of the other 3 worst run defenses in the country. And then Miami of Ohio's defensive line lost some pros. All of those defenses I have outside the top 100. The line yards of the opponents on those defenses, 127, 117, 83rd, 80, 88th. Ball State is at least 8th. So they were playing some really small defensive lines and bad run defenses, and were able just to abuse them. You saw that against Kent State. So I think, and look, Buffalo's going to be able to run the ball, and Patterson's going to get his yards. That's not the question here. My question is, is it as elite as we've seen? And can Ball State get a couple stops? That's what it's going to take, because I do also have questions about the Buffalo defense. And they've only faced one offense all year that's in the top 100. That's Kent State. And Kent State statistically put up close to 600 yards, put up over 40 points. They moved the ball all day. There were some 4th down flukes. And even Northern Illinois put up 30 points, and there were some turnover flukes in that game. And then what are you left with? You're left with like Akron and Bowling Green. So the schedule, and still despite that schedule, they're 75th in EPA per pass attempt, 83rd in explosive play rate. So I have some questions about this Buffalo defense. And you were talking about this early on in the year when they played Northern Illinois. They were just getting a lot of flukes, and their schedule was just an absolute joke. So I think Drew Plitt will be able to move the ball some here. And then the last phase is Buffalo's special teams. They're among the worst in the nation again. They're horrible. Ball State's special teams are elite for a MAC team. MAC teams are usually like the worst special teams in the nation, like 110th, 120th, 125th in the nation, which is where Buffalo is. Ball State I have as a little bit above average. So I think this line without Huntley should be, I could argue it's 10 if you want, and I really stretch my imagination on how good this – now, maybe Buffalo, their offensive line is this elite, and they're just the best offensive line ever now. But there are some questions I have with Buffalo, so I made this app without Huntley because it's a big drop-off to their backup. 9.5. So as soon as I got a chance to get 14 and I would buy it to 14, I did. So I like Ball State, and I think they'll have a shot here.
Yeah, definitely a game that I had to grit my teeth when I put it in the Action app. Ball State at 14. Once it got to 14 this week, I knew this was the buying point. I don't know how long it's going to last, and I'm risking the fact that maybe it goes even higher. But from a projection standpoint, you just heard Stuck on what he makes it. I make it 6.5. If you like SP Plus, 7.5. If you like Sagarin, they make it 9. No one in the world makes it this number. And, really we could back this up by telling you that Sagarin has a strength of schedule for Buffalo at 140th. 140th. And then when they did face a capable offense like Kent State, you heard Stuck say exactly how many yards they put up. And so it's really futile for me to sit here and tell you that Buffalo's number one in finishing drives. Buffalo's number one in line yards. When you play in the MAC East, you're supposed to have those kinds of numbers. So if you look
Well,
at
and 40% of your games this year were against Akron and Bowling
right,
Green. Like that's normally like if you were to play 4 out of your 10 normal games against those two teams.
which is going to make this bowl season, the handicapping the bowl season when your strength of schedule is reliant upon the division that you played in, it's going to be wild, absolutely wild. Like, of course, you're going to take a 2 or 3 win team out of the SEC to beat another team from another conference with 6 wins because that's just how it works. Anyways, back to this game. Nobody in the MAC has been able to stop Patterson. Nobody's been able to stop Jarrett Patterson. He looks like Barry Sanders, and now he gets to play in Detroit. He's so shifty. He has the highest yards after contact of any running back in the nation at 5.2 yards after a defender first touches him. I know they're playing Akron and all these other shitty teams, but 5.2 yards after you first been touched is pretty amazing. The weakness really, and we mentioned that with Northern Illinois, is on the defense. 75th in line yards, 116th in stuff rate, and we just mentioned 140th strength of schedule. So that's pretty bad. That means Ball State should have some success. That should give you some confidence in getting the 14. And they're highly successful in standard downs, but there's zero explosiveness. The Cardinals have been the most successful in passing downs, second and third and long. They're 15th in success rate, and they're 16th in EPA, which means they're going to be able to make some things happen, third and long, second and long, things like that. The Ball State defense hasn't been able to stop a stable of MAC West high-powered offenses. We're talking top 30 in defensive EPA, but they're 107th and 122nd in success rate. That's a ground-air split there. So outside the top 100 in success rate defensively, that's not good. It spells great things for Buffalo. To me, the biggest difference in this game, if you want to splice all the advanced stats, and I know that they're max stats, but the biggest difference in the game is Buffalo offensively on standard downs is first in the nation in success rate. Ball State's defense, 121st defensively success rate standard downs. Buffalo is going to eat on first and second down. They're going to have the shortest yardage on third down of anybody. I'd be shocked if they were in third and long at any point in the game. And one thing that really leads me to my bet is the fact that Ball State's tempo is 9th in the country. So let me get this straight. The other team is going to be able to have explosive runs in standard downs, early downs, probably score pretty fast, and then your tempo is top 10 in the country. I think there could be a ton of possessions here. Normal possessions, 11, 12 per team in a college football game. There could be 17 here. And what that means is I think that there's going to be a ton of points. Now, if you're looking to split this up about when to get in on Buffalo, maybe you're not too excited about Ball State and the number. Buffalo's highest point differential in the nation is in the third quarter. You're going to hear a lot of that on the podcast. But they are the top third quarter team in the nation with a plus 15 differential. The changes that Lance Leipold is making in the locker room during halftime has been better than anybody in the nation. I will go back to the 140th strength of schedule. But I would say if you're going to grab on to Ball State, just keep in mind third quarter is Buffalo's best. Amazing stat here. And 21 red zone trips for Buffalo. They've scored 20 touchdowns. I know, strength of schedule. The play for me, Ball State at 14 if it gets back there. Buffalo's team total over. And over 66, maybe a little bit of money. If Ball State has any chance whatsoever to win this game, this number will sail over the total.
Yep, I agree. I mean, Buffalo is a snail, but it's hard to see either one of these teams getting too many stops without some fluke action. All right, that's the MAC. Go Ball State, Detroit or bust.